Welcome back to Chicagolandians, a casual Chicago sports podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Cunningham, joined by my co-host, Connor Cunningham.
We're two brothers from the Chicagoland area talking about the latest and greatest in Chicago sports news.
Welcome back to another episode of the Chicagolandians. I'm your host, Patrick Cunningham, joined as always by Connor Cunningham.
Hello. Christmas season is upon us. How about that?
Ho, 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 some might say.
Oh,
Some might say.
Some might say.
And on today's episode, we are joined by friend of the pod, frequent guest, Michael Cunningham. Mike, do you want to introduce yourself?
I was going to say ho, ho, ho is my, kind of call in, but Pat
Kind of stole your bit there, sorry.
Kind of stole my bit, but that's okay. What's up, guys? Glad to be back.
You couldn't come up with
Talking
another bit.
exciting Bears news.
Yes. On today's episode, we are going to be highlighting the recent firing of Bears head coach Matt Eberflus. We're also going to be talking about the Lions game in general, the fiasco that was the final 30 seconds of that game, really the final 2 minutes of that game. How's that sound to you guys?
It sounds dynamite. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that sounds elite.
Okay. But before we get into that Lions game, we've got some Chicago sports news to go over. First thing we have on the docket, Illinois football defeated Northwestern this past weekend, 38-28. Illinois moves to now 9-3, and we're projected to play in the Citrus Bowl.
The Cheez-It Citrus Bowl.
Is the Cheez-It, is that a recent addition to the bowl?
It must be. Now, we're all thinking it. Cheez-Its, no citrus.
Thank you.
It's a cheese. It's a
What the
cheese.
heck? Well, some say citrus is the cheesiest of the food groups.
Yeah, I do hear that a
People
lot,
say that.
actually.
I read that one somewhere.
People said that. Yeah, I heard Obama say that, yeah.
Now, citrus, am I just an idiot? Citrus is kind of like an overarching fruit.
Yeah, if I were to say it, I'd say it's orange, lemon, Sprite, or limes, not Sprite. Orange, lemons, lime. I'd say it's those three main ones that I think about.
So was there the Citrus Bowl and then the Orange Bowl came in, and Citrus Bowl's like, yeah, we already kind of claimed that fruit. It's kind of weird you're doing that now.
I think that actually did happen.
Kind of, that probably did happen.
But it's interesting. Isn't there's a Tostitos bowl, right? Are we gonna have the Salt Bowl coming up? Are we gonna have to how many more bowls are we gonna have describing different characteristics of food?
The most recent bowl game that Illinois played in, I think, was the Reliquest Bowl, and then before that, we played in the Redbox Bowl. So there's a lot of bowl games out there. You just gotta
now,
find
when
your
does
spot.
the Cheddar Sour Cream and Onion Ruffles Bowl come out? Now that would be an elite bowl
It's kind of a
because
mouthful.
Ruffles sour cream, that's top chip.
I would just like a bowl of those chips. That's what I would like, if I'm being honest.
We can talk about different bowls we'd want all day, but Illinois moves to 9-3. This is the best Illinois has been in how many years? And we are projected to play either South Carolina or Alabama, which will be the biggest opponent we've played.
Big time SEC school. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Now, what do we feel? How do we feel about playing a legitimate SEC school?
19
If you told me last year Illinois is going to be playing Alabama, you're like, oh, good Lord, we're going to lose by 100 points.
I think we've come out and said that none of our players are going to sit out this game, probably because none of our players are high draft picks.
Because none of them are good enough.
But Alabama and South Carolina would be very likely to have a lot of top-notch players that are going to sit out. So I think this could be a great advertising opportunity for Illinois football if we get to beat up on the second and third strings of a huge SEC team. Maybe some high recruits celebrating New Year's Eve, watching the game and thinking, wait, who is this Illinois team beating Alabama? Okay, decommit. Now I'm going to the Fighting Illini.
Now, I will say, second and third string players on Alabama would certainly be starters on U of I would say. But
that is usually where we are getting our quarterbacks from.
yeah,
We're like, whoa, you were back up at South Carolina? Oh, boy, you got to be good. Now,
we'll see.
I brought this up before we started recording, but this gives me flashbacks of the last time that I personally remember Illinois being a really good team was 2008. believe we were
Woof.
10-2. We beat number 1 Ohio State at Ohio State. It was freaking awesome. Those are the Juice Williams, Relius Ben, Rashard Mendenhall, Jay Lehman, Illinois team, which we got slated to play in the Rose Bowl against USC. So we're like, okay, we're not playing the Big Ten anymore. We're playing Pac-12, legit team. Like, here we go. What's going to happen? We got a great defense. Maybe we can hold them. Nope. 49-17. Mark Sanchez, pre-butt fumble back when he was a stud. They just were going just nonstop on us. I was up in Door County with my friends Jack and Mark, friends of the pod. We went to a restaurant. We had a nice basket of Wisconsin cheese curds. We were just ready. I was like, here we go. Can't wait to watch this game. And then quickly was not fun to watch it anymore.
Yeah, we've now had 2 games this season where it's been like, oh, maybe we got a chance here. Maybe let's get up for Oregon. Let's get up for Penn State. Let's see what we got. And then we just get spanked. And I think especially playing a powerhouse non-Big Ten team really scares me. Penn State is one thing because that's a Big Ten powerhouse, and that means a different thing than Oregon. So now to be playing Alabama or South Carolina definitely gives me pause. But, I mean, if we win this game, maybe they swap the team out of the playoffs. They throw us back in there. Maybe those big-time recruits start coming through. Brett gets a 10-year extension. I mean,
The lights are never too bright for Luke Altmaier. This is our chance to carve his name into Illinois history. But moving on, following our last episode, at the time of that recording with John Cunningham, we had just dropped a loss to the New England Patriots. Since that game, we have added 3 losses to our repertoire, including Green Bay Packers, which ended in a heartbreaking field goal. We lost to the Vikings, and we have now lost to the Detroit Lions, which will be the main focus of this episode. But real quick, just to highlight the second most recent loss, the Minnesota Vikings, 30-27 in an overtime game. Bears scored first, went into halftime 14-10. Vikings then added 2 quick scores, took the lead up to 24-10 entering the fourth quarter. All hope seems lost until Caleb Williams harnesses all of his Maserati Mitch Trubisky energy, and we had a big touchdown to Keenan Allen. Then we had a 2-point. Then we had a recovered onside kick, went down to kick a field goal to send it to OT. Game goes to OT. Didn't go our way, but still, the main takeaway was showing how clutch Caleb Williams is in the fourth quarter. Threw for 340, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. But guys, what were your thoughts from this Vikings game?
I mean, Caleb is he's a fourth quarter guy. We're a fourth quarter team, really. We just need to make sure we're not down by too many points so Caleb can get us back. He comes out with a slow start. Our offense,
It's slow early.
kind of like, turning on that old hot rod that hasn't been started up in like 20 years. Takes a couple minutes. But once that thing's going, watch out. Usually doesn't get going until about the fourth quarter. We score 2 or 3 touchdowns, get back in the game, and then Matt Eberflus finds a way for us to lose. It's sort of the formula.
Down to a science. Now, the NFC North is so good. The Lions are 11-1 right now. The Vikings are 10-2, and the Packers are 9-3. Mostly at the expense of the Bears because we have now become 4-8, but really crazy.
We're in a position to beat all of those guys for a team.
Mike, I know. My 2 cents is how many years have we had the same shtick of, Bears kind of hanging around, dancing around in the first 3 quarters. Then fourth quarter comes around and we're like, we're still in this. We're still here. We're going to score a touchdown, 4 minutes left in the game to put it within 3. And you're like, what's going to happen here? We've been saying that for so long now. That predates the Flus era, I feel like.
I mean, that's why Maserati Mitch was a thing, because we stunk all game. The offense did nothing. Then,
they fall asleep. Yep.
Fourth quarter Mitch. Here we go. Laser eyes.
Yeah. So it's disappointing that that's how we are, but it is what it is.
But something I think that we're seeing already that at least was different with Fields is that when we are actually in that last drive when the ball is in our hands and we need to make a play where Justin Fields would go out and find a way to take a huge sack, get the ball stripped away from him, or throw an interception, Caleb Williams has proven, even as a rookie, to have that clutch X factor and drive us down the field and put us in those situations to win. Whether or not we capitalize on those situations, discussion for later.
I agree. Now, here's a point. Matt Eberflus, certainly in Pro Bowl form of choking games at the end, right? Now, Justin Fields' fourth quarter last year was terrible. Could you imagine if we had Justin Fields on this team, the tandem, the stories that Eberflus and Fields could create, the fourth quarter stories? Certainly would be interesting.
If we still had Justin, Eberflus wouldn't have had the opportunity to squander games at the last second because we wouldn't be in the games. Fields, he would have gotten a strip sack a couple minutes before, so Matt wouldn't have even had the decision to kick it or not kick it. But I will say with the last handful of quarterbacks we've had, I can't remember a guy where I was confident that, okay, we've got one drive, we're on the 20, we need to go down and score to tie it or take the lead, that our guy can take us down and do that. And now Caleb he's probably got 3 or 4 game-winning drives under his belt already. Now, we didn't win the games because defense,
that's the key,
coaching, that's the key. But he's already shown that he can perform when it matters most.
He definitely would have at least 3, the Commanders, Lions, and Packers for sure. And he said multiple times where late in the game, we've started the ball deep in our own territory, and he's been able to put together big drives. It's been very interesting and very inspiring to watch Caleb Williams play.
Most certainly. And to really drive home that point, he has set the NFL rookie record with 212 straight pass attempts without an interception, and has also set the Bears rookie record with 12 passing touchdowns, which now is 14. Just a testament to the great season he's having and the change he brings compared to previous quarterbacks. Because that rookie passing touchdown record, that surpasses the previous record set by Charlie O'Rourke Sr. in 1942.
I think I could spin it.
Oh yeah,
that guy was O'Rourke was the only quarterback to exceed double-digit touchdowns. He's the only guy to do it, other than Caleb, since I guess maybe before 1942.
Bang.
That's it. Insane. Bears are so old and suck. God.
They probably threw it like 3 times a game back then. So, I mean, it's actually pretty impressive he threw that many. But the fact that in today's game, we didn't have a rookie throw for more than 12 passing touchdowns is outstanding.
It's embarrassing.
I mean, that's
embarrassing.
That's incredible. It's funny, actually, that, all this talk we hear about, who's our guy, who's our best quarterback?
Sid Luckman. God, Mike.
Get
off the pod. Get off the pod.
I'm sorry.
Sid the kid.
Everyone's talking about how Sid's the greatest. No one says Charlie O'Rourke Sr.
Charlie O'Rourke Sr., yeah.
Freaking blasphemy. At least have him in the conversation.
Well, it's nice that Charlie O'Rourke was still around playing football. It looks like he did not go and serve during World War II. Like that kind of helped him probably set some records.
Who the heck was the coach at that time? Wasn't Halas over there punching Hitler in the face?
The Nazis.
Freaking.
Now, what's up with Charlie O'Rourke? Why wasn't he there?
He's a draft dodger.
Yeah, interesting. I will say the Bears haven't had a lot of stud rookie quarterbacks, as we all know. So it's not that surprising. What I will say, though, is not surprising, but encouraging to see the rookie record for the most consecutive attempts without an interception, which is great to see because even though those last 3 games with Waldron looked like the offense had forgotten how to play football, Caleb is at least not turning over the ball. He's getting sacked, but at least not turning the ball over. I mean, that goes back to how he played in college. He didn't turn the ball over a lot, didn't throw a lot of interceptions, even with all the yards he threw for. So it's at least really encouraging to see that that has carried over to the NFL so far. because I could only imagine what the Caleb haters would be saying if he also had like 15 interceptions on top of all the sacks he took and us not getting wins.
Yeah. No, he takes care of the ball, man. Just want to make a correction. Charlie O'Rourke did enter the United States Navy in 1943, and he played football in California during this time for the Fleet City Blue Jackets, and then returned to football for the LA Dons in 1946. Just a quick stat line during his 11 touchdown season as the Bears. He intercepted 3 passes on defense, returned 2 punts, and made 23 punts for 817 yards for the 11-0 Bears. So what a stat line.
You just don't get players like that anymore. Just like a
You just
five
don't.
to, a
Like
five
that.
tool player. You don't get 5 tool players
They don't
anymore.
make it like that anymore. Charlie O'Rourke, thank you for your service. I take it back everything I said or implied.
Yeah.
That's incredible, though. You don't get the quarterback/punters that often anymore. It's too bad.
You don't get the punter punt return combination anymore. You don't see that a lot either.
That is true.
He also coached the UMass Redmen from 1952 to 1959 with a record of 21-39. So not a great head coach.
It's in the water over here in Chicago. So while we move on from Charlie O'Rourke news, we're going to transition into the main portion of the podcast. This episode is probably going to come out Wednesday. We played the Lions last Thursday. So I think if you want a succinct breakdown of what happened during the game, you can find that from many, many people. I think what we're going to focus on right now is that last minute where the Bears, similar fashion, we were out of this game for the entire game. Our first touchdown came in the second half, and then we somehow hung around. Our defense, sloppy at first, picked it up at the end, and in the fourth quarter, we started to mount a heroic comeback as usual. Now, where things get interesting. So, set the scene.
Bears get the ball at the 1-yard line. First play of the drive is a 6-yard pass to Keenan Allen. Jack Campbell takes his helmet off, and Keenan Allen gets it on sportsmanlike conduct. Tosses the ball at the ref. Great start. Then, we have
Keenan was so upset.
I mean, it was probably a missed horse collar /
I thought it's because his helmet and his cap came off, exposing his
everyone saw it.
very bald head. And it's one thing when if you're bald, you're bald. That's cool. He
It
rocks
happens.
it. Clean it, may shave.
He's holding on to
got the
that.
full
Look
George
at Stanza going on there.
But I mean, he makes up for it by being an NFL receiver. So
So the bald cap is primarily to hide the bald head? Is that how it is?
I don't think that's the case.
Wait, it's called a skull cap. It's not called a bald cap.
I think bald cap's like what actors wear in a
Yeah,
movie.
to
when they're
look
like,
bald.
supposed
To make them
to
look bald.
No, you're right. The skull cap. But that also came off, and he was mad that the ref allowed that mean Lions player to expose his bald head. Continue, sorry.
Okay. 3rd and 7. Caleb Williams has a 25-yard pass to DJ Moore. And then, we have our first down drive right at the 30. Caleb takes another sack. This is, I think, his second sack of the day by, shout out, Al-Qadim Muhammad, who played on the Bears for one season. He was one of Ryan Poles' Moneyball signings that we had, who didn't turn out to be very good. But then after that, we have a nice 12-yard run from Swift. 2-minute warning. Bunch of what going on. We have that nice pick play from Cole Kmet on our 4th down play that brings us all the way back to the 14. And we're like, hey, what the heck's going on? 4th and 14, what the hell are we going to do? Seems like all hope is lost in Chicago. 4th and 14, drop back, throw a deep ball to DJ Moore. Not a very good ball. Not a good effort from DJ Moore. Now, who is there to save the day for the Chicago Bears? Is it Matt Eberflus? No. Is it Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Romo Dunze? No. It's Kendall Vildor, longtime Bear, comes to save the day.
Predates this
Vildor.
podcast.
Predates this podcast, predates the Poles administration, pass interference on DJ Moore. Kind of a questionable call, but gives us the first down. So now it is 1st and 10 at the Detroit 25.
How much time?
So
is
at that
left?
point, there was 43 seconds. We're at the 25-yard line.
42-yard field goal right there. 45 seconds left. 2 timeouts. There's surely no imaginable way the Bears could mess this up. You're on the 25-yard line.
Go
with 2
for end
timeouts.
zone.
You're going for the game.
The red zone is the 20, so you are almost in the red zone with 2 timeouts, 46 seconds left. All right, so let's see what happens. I think this is probably going to go well, right? So 43, second down, we have an incomplete pass to DJ Moore. Then on second down, can't get the play going. So we burn a timeout because we can't get the play right and freaking out in the line. We have to burn our second timeout of the game with 43 seconds left. Then on second down, after that timeout, we throw a pass to Keenan Allen that puts us at the 12-yard line, 12 yards away from the end zone. There's a penalty on Tevin Jenkins, illegal use of hands. What the hell else is new? Backs us up to the 35 for a 2nd and 20. Zadarius Smith sacks Caleb Williams for a 6-yard loss where Larry Borum is thinking about maybe he had too much turkey, too much tryptophan, he was too tired. Didn't even see Zadarius Smith coming off the edge, sacks Caleb Williams for a 6-yard loss. But that is with 30 seconds left in the game, right? All is well.
30 seconds and
a timeout. That's the crazy part. A timeout.
Key part there.
So the Bears are currently at the 41-yard line, outside of Cairo field goal range. Sure, but still have 1 timeout. And what ends up happening, Bears huddle back to the line. Caleb Williams is frantically yelling, switching up plays, doing all of this hand work over his head. And you start kind of thinking, hey, what's going on here? You know, not like we're going to call a timeout right now. I don't really know what's going to happen. You see Travis Homer on the sideline screaming and jumping up and down, kind of freaking out like us Bears fans, wondering when the timeout's going to come. Tony Romo's saying the same thing. He's saying, oh, they're not going to timeout here. Clock's getting a little low.
Running a lot of time here.
We snapped the ball with 7 seconds left. No huddle shotgun. Double move to Romo Dunze and double coverage, throws the ball there. Honestly, kind of close to being caught. Game ends. Camera pans to Matt Eberflus. Happy Thanksgiving. That's the end of it. That's the end of it.
Eberflus with his patented squinting look, looking up at the scoreboard, trying to understand what just happened. Yeah, giving a Tim Robinson.
You sure? And even his timeout usage, that scramble that Caleb Williams had that made it 3rd and 4, he didn't even call a timeout then when there was a minute left in the game. It had to be a Zadarius Smith injury that stopped the clock for the Bears.
Did we have that injury and then we had to call the timeout after that?
So that injury happened at the 108 mark.
so minute left. We had time to collect ourselves in that timeout, and then 20 seconds later, we had to call one of our own timeouts.
Yes, exactly.
You were right about
that. It doesn't make any sense.
We had paused this game and eaten Thanksgiving dinner. We hadn't checked our phones or our fantasy teams for hours, cutting off all communications with our family, and we were just seeing our phones blow up well after the game had presumably ended. So we thought, oh, we must have gotten some interesting overtime, maybe. Let's see what we got going on. We pause it after the pass interference 1st down, and we're like, all right, we come back around the TV, ready to watch some football, ready to get some free overtime football. Not a minute later, the game is over, and we're looking around wondering, why do we exist?
Why are we Bears fans?
Where is God? That's what I'm saying.
It's the Lombardi gif where he goes, "Put down here." I mean, that is what I was thinking. Just like, how can this happen again? Just squander another great opportunity for the Bears, make a statement, not be the complete embarrassment of the league. And yet we just go out there, Matt Eberflus does what he does best. It makes Chicago just look like the laughing stock of the league. Unbelievable.
As people have said, to snatch defeat from the claws of victory. That's the story of this season, man. It sucks. It's we say it every podcast. It's frustrating.
This is not a tough situation to analyze, but I think we could take a little time analyzing what should have happened in that situation. Now, a lot of people are saying 30 seconds left. As soon as he hits the ground, burn the timeout. He's still in field goal range. I think that's a tough thing to say. I think a lot of ESPN people don't know Cairo's game, don't know that a 58-yarder,
Unfamiliar with.
way outside of his range. You burn that timeout there. Now you have 30 seconds, no timeout, out of field goal range. You got a tough situation. So I agree initially with trying to run another play and get closer. But as soon as you see Caleb Williams audibling the play with 30 seconds left and clearly panicking with a rookie QB and a second string center in, and seemingly everything going wrong and Caleb panicking, that's where I would burn the timeout. Probably like 20 seconds, I would say, okay, let's try again. But surely 15, 17, 20 seconds left, you burn that timeout.
That's even giving Matthew Eberflus a lot of credit there to say that he was thinking we're going to run another play, get some more yards, and call timeout. I mean, I think it was 3rd and 13 right there.
3rd and 26.
It was 3rd and 26?
Yeah.
Okay. So we needed to get like an extra 10 yards or something, and then we could kick a field goal. So we're not going to get a first down, right? So if you don't get any more yards right there, then I guess then you burn a timeout. And then you've got, like we said, Cairo's not going to be able to kick a 58-yarder. So we're going to have to draw up a play to get to the end zone. I would rather burn the timeout immediately. You've got 33 seconds left. Regroup yourself. Thomas Brown, come up with the best play you've got in your play sheet that can get us 10 yards. And then we run that. Then you call timeout. And then hopefully you're in field goal range.
Wait, but that's 2 timeouts.
That's 2 timeouts, Mike.
No. You call it timeout. Okay. Well, you're right. I did say timeout. 2 timeouts.
This guy's calling for Flus's ass, and he just called 2 timeouts.
Okay, then you run the team onto the field. Or then you run the field goal team out. I wasn't convinced that we just took a devastating sack. We are now going to no huddle. We've got a play ready in Caleb's ear, ready to go, that we can pick up 10 yards right then and there. And clearly we didn't, because Caleb was sitting around waiting for the play call to come in. It was just a complete mess.
Well, so Caleb looked like he actually audibled the play to the Rome Odunze double.
I agree with that, but yeah. he had come out and said that he was waiting for the play call. That is what took so long initially.
Okay,
and then now I don't know. This is what I read that he had said. I didn't hear the quote exactly, but I believe he was waiting for the play, got the play, looked up in the clock, and saw there was like 15 seconds left, and knew, okay, we're not going to have time. So then audibled to a play to get someone to the end zone, because you knew we had to get to the end zone, and then it clearly didn't work out. I don't know. The whole thing's a mess. Yeah, I guess you could have gone either way with it. Regardless, you call a timeout at some point. You don't end the game with 1 timeout in your back pocket.
None of those scenarios we described involved not calling a timeout. In every path you take, at some point you call a timeout. Eberflus chooses the path of the most resistance and chooses to not call a timeout. And what is even more remarkable after this game, where there is clearly a lack of coaching that cost us this game, Matt Eberflus has the balls to walk out there, stand up in front of news reporters and say, when asked the question, hey, how do you think the last 30 seconds went? You know what he says? He says, oh, I actually kind of like what we did there. I think we played it the right way. And he said, 7 seconds left. You've only got 1 shot. You got to go to the end zone, which completely cuts what happened from 30 seconds to 7 seconds. He just is treating it as we got the ball sacked at 7 seconds. What a freaking joke. The whole season we had talked about Matt Eberflus completely lacks accountability. And always at the end of the games, never wants to say, hey, I messed up. I didn't coach that correctly. It's always, I think we did the right thing there. We just got to come together as a team. I hate this guy.
I'm shocked that Eberflus is still married, because I could only imagine what happens in an argument with him and his wife. She's like, Matt, you said you were going to take out the trash. the trash is sitting here and now it's all moldy and we have mice eating out of our trash. What happened? And he would just say, I like what I did there.
I actually like what
You know, in
did.
that situation when the mice are
You know,
eating
moldy
it,
trash.
you kind of just
you
leave
really
the
only
trash
got
there.
one option.
You
kinda
leave it
gotta
to the
leave it there.
mice.
I would do that again, actually. It's unbelievable. This guy, I mean, the mental gymnastics Bears fans have to go through to still be fans is one thing, but the mental gymnastics Matt Eberflus goes through after every game to then get up onto the mic, say it with a straight face. I like what we did there. That was the right decision. Unbelievable.
The balls on that guy.
I mean, I guess I'll give him credit there. I'll give him credit. The guy's got
He
some
has
cojones. He doesn't know.
every point this season, he has doubled down on every dumb decision he has made in press conferences. Literally every time he doubles down.
On the Commanders not guarding the 15-yard play, on the
Said it didn't matter. Said it didn't matter.
on the numerous challenges that he has messed up on, like the Jordan Addison challenge and the other ones he's messed up on not running in another play in the Packers game, he said those yards don't really matter. And then on this one, he says, I like what we did there. This guy, he can't hurt us anymore. But, you know,
Sure.
no accountability. So, no surprise to anyone, but still a surprise. Actually, still a pretty big surprise to us. The following day, Eberflus was let Eberloose and was fired. After his 14-32 career with the Chicago Bears, Eberflus went down as the first head coach to be fired mid-season in our entire 105-year history. And in typical Bears fashion, even firing our crappy head coach mismanaged. Done poorly. So this story is from Jason Lizer from Chicago Sun-Times. This is his source. But he said reportedly, immediately after the game, Ryan Poles was hot. He wanted Eberflus's head immediately after the game. But Kevin Warren and McCaskey chose to wait till 7:30 on Friday morning to meet and talk about what Matt Eberflus's future looked like for the Chicago Bears. So Friday morning at 7:30, the three of them, the three powerhouses of the Chicago Bears, sit down and speak for 3 hours about the future of Matt Eberflus. So that's at 7:30. At 9, Matt Eberflus goes on for his weekly next game press conference where he to go out, explain all of the poor decisions he made and justify every decision he made. So at 9, at the same time, the heads of the organization are talking about if we're going to fire Eberflus or not. So in Eberflus's mind, at that meeting, he thinks his job's secure because why the hell would they let him go out and face all of these questions and represent the
That's what we
organization?
all thought.
So he thought everything was all good, and he's looking forward to next week playing the 49ers. A couple hours out of that press conference, Eberflus gets fired. I mean, I like to think it was Poles wanted Eberflus to answer for his crimes. That's what I like to think happened. Terrible. Unprofessional.
Unprofessional.
I mean,
Unserious, some would say.
horrible look for the organization. I mean, it's not shocking at all just because that's who we are and we're a joke. But I actually did not hear that tidbit that Poles wanted him gone that night. I actually love that. That makes me, I mean, I kind of love Ryan Poles regardless, probably without,
To a fault.
probably to a fault without a lot of merit. But that makes me like him even more and isn't actually shocking that the other heads of the organization talked him down. But what could you possibly be talking about for 3 hours in regards to Matt Eberflus?
Maybe who's going to be the interim, what you're
They
going to
didn't
do with the
announce that
extra
right
timeout
away.
that you earned.
But they didn't announce the interim right away or anything like that. That was just his fate, right? I mean, that's pretty cold-blooded, though, to let the guy go out knowing you're going to fire him.
Oh, you're fine. Go out there. Yeah, go talk to him.
Yeah. Go fire. You got it. Got it, bud. Don't worry.
Joe Pesci, you're getting made. Tommy, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Eberflus walked into the empty room, put his
He
hands
saw
up.
the fish on the wall. He said, "What's up?" I mean, there's also a barber who is employed for the Bears, at least from Hard Knocks, primarily to shave Eberflus's beard. So I guess they had to figure out the contract situation for him as well. He's probably another guy out of a job, but Yeah, I don't know what you'd be talking about for 3 hours. Maybe they were just trying to come up with their best Eberflus moments for 3 hours. But it's really been crazy how in the last 2 years of Eberflus, obviously we're bad. But when you look at it in the totality now, how many people on Twitter have called him the worst head coach in NFL history? And I don't know if that's true or not, but to think that we have now witnessed this guy who people at least throw out that he's the worst head coach in the NFL history, I mean, it's insane how this season has so incredibly backfired for the Chicago Bears and how everybody and their mom outside of Chicago was screaming that this was going to happen. And all of us to say, did you know the Bears were 7-10 last year? I don't know how many times I said that to like RG3, be like, the Bears were 7-10. Our defense is top 10. To say all this stuff, to think time after time that no one else knows what they're talking about. And then this season to just so fall flat on our face. It sucks. Sucks. RG3 was right. As much as I hate RG3,
no.
He was 100% correct about the Jane Daniels, Caleb Williams, who was walking into the better situation. 100%
yes.
right about that.
Which is really saying something because the Commanders are such a mess. But they were such a mess with Dan Snyder.
Virginia McCaskey,
terrorist.
Worse than Dan Snyder?
Terrorist.
Worse than Dan Snyder?
Worse than Al Qaeda.
Let's talk about
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, going into this year, so much hope. This is like the worst scenario you could possibly ask for. But yeah, like you said, it's exactly what we knew was going to happen. You're like, okay, the Bears keep doing this, drafting a new quarterback with a coach that's on his way out. Oh, that won't happen. They were rebuilding. That's why the teams are so bad. This year will be good, and Eberflus will get extended, and everything will be good. We'll keep the continuity. No, what happens? 9 weeks in, we fire the new offensive coordinator that was supposed to be the guru to bring Caleb Williams to life. And then, 3 weeks later, we hot fire the next guy that's associated with Caleb. Are there any other coaches? Like, I think the quarterback's coach is still there. We could maybe get rid of him.
I mean, Thomas Brown's ass is going to be out the door in 3 weeks, so.
Yeah, Pat, when you texted that Bears fans are going to be calling for Thomas Brown's ass in 3 weeks, I laughed at that. But it's just like, everyone knew this was going to happen going into the season. Sticking with Matt Eberflus. The Bears try to convince us that no, that's not going to happen. We've got a plan. Lo and behold, exactly what everyone thought was going to happen happened. Now we've got Caleb going into his second year with a new coach. Rinse and repeat the past 3 quarterbacks we've had. Why Bears? Why do you do this to us? What have we done to deserve this?
And why do I love you so much through it all? Every week it just comes back and I sit down in front of my freaking couch and I say, hurt me again.
Chicago Bears?
Destroy my weekend. Every weekend.
In a past life, the Bears must have done something that really just like Zeus or God just said, I'm going to smite you. And you, for the rest of your days, you think you're going to have hope, and I will just embarrass you, and you will never be anything.
I would say the Bears organization is the reincarnation of Hades. Hitler.
Okay.
Siren.
Okay. Yeah, this is interesting.
You know, all these guys, Stalin.
You know they're back.
The reincarnation. They're back. And you're saying, yeah, they're bad and they're back. And guess what? There's nothing you can do about it. All those stories about the corrupt guys at the top, you know, Animal Farm, where they're telling you, oh, everything's okay. Yeah, look, oh, no, that's not what the rules are. This is actually good for us. And then we suck. We're foreign. We look back at the season where we said, there were guys this offseason saying that the Bears were sleeper Super Bowl contenders, and we are 4-8 and fired our head coach.
Our offensive coordinator. The only other team that fired one of their team coaches earlier in the season than us was the Raiders to fire our ex-offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy. How much of a joke we are.
But the Raiders,
There's seepage. It's
notoriously
seepage.
terribly run team, were smart enough to say, wow, this guy's a suck, we're going to fire him early. And we decided we're going to keep him around.
Just bad.
I mean, I'd say he at least gets an interview for the OC job. At least gets let in the door.
Oh, just the OC job. I thought you were going to say the head coaching job.
Well,
I
head
mean,
coach, we give Nagy another shot. We give him an interview too.
That's true. Trestman's probably still on the couch. He's probably just itching for another chance.
Okay. So, a quick aside, it came out that following Thursday's game, Matt Eberflus walked into the locker room and tried to give his same sorry ass, this is a learning opportunity where we can stick together and grow. And Jalen Johnson said, enough is enough. After 5 years, he said, I am done. And he stood up and had a very colorful exchange with Eberflus, which then led to a lot of the veteran players piling on top of Jalen Johnson and really dogging on this guy, which led to Eberflus having to leave the premises, which I think is when Poles and Warren probably made the decision that they thought, oh no, okay, time to take this guy behind the barn, send him to the farm.
That is definition of LTLR. You can't come back from that. When you have the whole team yelling at you, and the only thing you can do,
calling you a moron,
is just to walk out. He's like, okay, guys, clearly there's nothing I can say that will make you ever respect me again. I'm just
all right, fine. You guys don't want to talk. Okay, you guys don't want to be adults. All right, I'm going to leave now.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the worst way to handle an argument. But I mean, I guess at that point, Matt probably saw the writing on the wall as well.
Really? You think he did? Because he was given that press conference still saying, well,
I mean, what's he supposed to do? Now, I understand him coming out into the press conference and trying to make it seem like, oh, I'm not going to get fired tomorrow. That doesn't mean he should say, oh, I still like everything we did and that was the right decision. But he can't come out and be like, oh, yeah, my whole team was just talking shit about me and I walked out of the locker room. But yeah, hey, guys, he's got to put on a face.
Yeah, guys, honestly, pretty emotional right now. Jalen Johnson just called me a pussy. I don't really know what to do. You guys just give me a second.
Yeah, what do you
Adam,
think he
Adam, I don't want to say.
Did he call him cheeks?
Probably called him cheeks. Probably on buns, ass, booty. Probably all of them.
That's tough.
So, following the firing of Matt Eberflus, obviously the interim head coach, Thomas Brown, who 3 weeks ago was our passing game coordinator, was then promoted to our offensive coordinator and has now moved his way all the way to the tippity top of our head coach. Probably by the end of the season, he'll own the frickin' Bears.
He'll be the fucking quarterback.
That's how this season's going. This guy will give him a contract. Jesus Christ. But he has become the interim head coach, and I think these next 5 games are going to be a mini interview for a potential future head coaching job. I think these guys will really rally around Thomas Brown. He's a real high-energy guy, someone that seems like the opposite of Matt Eberflus. But this leads to the obvious question of who is going to be the next head coach for the Chicago Bears. And on press conference today, Monday, December 2nd, Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren, who is the president, the CEO of the Chicago Bears, walked out and gave a press conference where Kevin Warren opened it up with a 10-minute monologue talking about the future of the Bears and what we're looking for in a coach, talking about how this head coaching job is going to be the most coveted position in the NFL come this offseason. But what really stood out from this conversation was that Kevin Warren kind of made it seem like he was leading the search for the head coach, not the GM, Ryan Poles, who, now you will say, was responsible for hiring Matt Eberflus, but whose entire
put that on him.
Silence is compliance, Mike. Silence is compliance.
He let that guy walk. Have another season.
Something.
But okay, so Kevin Warren, the president, who is more in charge of making sure we have a new stadium built, has now decided that he is going to make the final decisions for our head coach instead of the guy who we have hired to literally do that as his job. Unbelievable. And then when somebody asked him, okay, you guys come down to a final decision. Kevin, you want a guy. Ryan, you want a guy. Who gets final words? And his instant reaction was not, oh, Ryan Poles is the guy we've hired to do this. It's his final say. He took like a 2-minute answer to finally get to, I guess at the end of the day, Ryan Poles would have the final decision, leaving the door completely open that Kevin Warren is really calling the shots. And throughout this whole 10-minute monologue, Ryan Poles is just sitting there like a shamed, neutered dog who is scared of his boss next to him. And it just really makes you think, who's calling the shots here? Who is running this organization? And it makes you a little scared that it's Kevin Warren.
I mean, it's interesting. Kevin Warren, as we have come to find out, has maybe the biggest ego in Chicago. I don't know if you remember that, like, a day in the life of Kevin Warren video that came out in the off season. Like, the first 20 minutes of it was just like him working out. It was very weird. And yeah, I mean, the guy has like a business background. He's not a football guy, right? He ran the Big Ten. Now is with the Bears, overseeing the stadium plans. And nowhere in there does he have NFL experience doing anything. Now, he's hired plenty of people, sure, but that doesn't mean that you have the ability to identify a
There's
good
no ball.
head coach. There's no ball. So the idea that he's going to be potentially holding polls back, he eventually did come out and say, no, end of the day, final decision is going to be Ryan's. Which, I mean, thank God he said that. Who knows? That could just be he's saying that to save face. But this just gives me pause that it's just going to be another Bears blunder. Who's making the decision? We've got non-football people hiring our coaches, making our football decisions, and then we end up with freaking Mark Trestman or somebody. So I don't know. Don't like one bit. But I will say, if Kevin Warren had enough authority to get Eberflus fired midseason, that is a good thing. Kevin Warren and Poles, they're the only people that didn't exist before Eberflus, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the organization. They're still the newcomers. I mean, Eberflus came in shortly after Poles, but I think that decision was already made. So they're the newcomers.
Very shortly.
Hopefully, they can work together and make something work, but I'm nervous.
Now, here's a pop quiz question for you guys. Sorry, I'm kind of springing this on you guys. If you had to guess, who ranks 4th for points per game in Grand Canyon University basketball history?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Kevin Warren.
I'm gonna guess
It
George
is
McCaskey.
Kevin Warren. In 1984, he dropped 42 against Concordia College. This is the 4th highest single game scoring total in school history.
Oh, I thought you meant
He also had a cumulative 3.49 GPA at Grand Canyon.
4.9?
3.49.
I thought you meant he was the 4th highest scoring player in team history. He just had the 4th highest single game total.
No, season average. He averaged 23 a game.
Okay,
pretty
good.
Pretty good. He scored 1,100 points. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Me hope.
All right. Well, he knows basketball.
This says he's a Super Bowl champion. He's somehow associated with the 2000 Super Bowl champion of the Rams. Let's see.
Okay.
Sorry, real quick.
He was an intern.
Oh, he was the quarterback, actually. Wow, that's interesting.
Well, we're getting a little in the weeds here. We're getting a little in the weeds.
We're getting
here.
up. I probably
Getting
got
off base.
probably got
Connor,
a
do you have any
long
thoughts
off.
about Kevin Warren calling the shots?
I think my only point would just be that the last 40 years of Bears problems has been associated with not football guys making football decisions for the Bears. With Ted Phillips, with George McCaskey, Mike McCaskey, everybody up and down this organization, even every Bears fan will say, we don't have football guys making these decisions. And this seems like another time where we're going to have not the guy that we have hired to make our decisions. We've had Bill Polian hire Ryan Poles. We have Trace Armstrong hire Eberflus and hire Shane Waldron. All up and down this organization, we have hierarchy issues of who is making these decisions, who is actually making the decisions, who do we say is making these decisions, who is actually making these decisions. It's infuriating that this joke of an organization keeps trotting these same actions out time and time again. It seems like there's such this deep state in Chicago, in Halas, about who is really pulling the strings here. And it's disgusting. I mean, you can I was looking at Twitter, there's a bunch of Bears writers that I follow who are posting articles that they had posted literally from 10 years ago, calling the Bears a circus. And you could read the article from top to bottom. You swap out the names, you think this was written a month ago. It is insanity how time and time again we trot out the same BS, and us as Bears fans just slop it up. And we just think that, yep, next year, yeah, okay, we didn't change anything. We got terrible leadership. Yeah, we're Super Bowl contenders, I think. I think we're a sleeper Super Bowl team. It's horrendous. For the majority of my life, I've been a very optimistic Bears fan, and I think this is the first season that is really going to tip me over the edge of turning into a doom.
Or welcome to the club. We've been waiting for you. That's what being a Bears
The
fan.
water's nice. Water's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Come on in. That's what being a Bears fan for 21 years will do to you. You finally, finally I don't know, was it the sunglasses are taken off, or the fog clears, and you see clearly what's going on in the
An
organization.
apocalyptic wasteland of destruction.
Yeah, or no. Okay, this is it. You get taken out of the Matrix. You wake up. Uh-oh. You're just sleeping in some
George
freaking.
McCaskey's using you as batteries to power his mega ship.
Yes, exactly. You're plugged into some machine that George McCaskey's running.
Well, unfortunately, I think that's all we have for today's episode. Do you guys have any final closing remarks before we wrap this thing up?
I will say, closing remarks from John, his comments that he ended with last episode, he said that if Matt Eberflus is the coach of the Bears next year, then God is not real. Kind of a uptick for
kind of a
All
uptick
right.
for
Christianity
Christ.
and Catholicism. Yeah, I mean,
Moving in the right
on the up.
direction.
I think certainly on the up, not the down. So that's my closing remark.
My closing remark is I think I sent this gift to you guys after you were complaining, or this was Pat, after you were complaining about some decision or whatever that was made. And it's the Goodwill Hunting, Robin Williams, and Matt Damon. Very emotional scene where Robin Williams just says, "It's not your fault. Not your fault. It's not your fault. Bears fans, it's not your fault. Matt Eberflus can't hurt us anymore. He's gone. He's gone."
To think back to the early days of this season where our biggest problem was Velus Jones dropping a couple punts. And now this is what this season has become. Well, if you made it to the end of this episode, I want to say thank you. We appreciate your viewership. If you liked this episode, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere else you found this podcast. And if you want to see more Chicagolandians content, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Chicagolandians. Connor looks like he's dying to say something. One last thing. I'll kick it to him.
You can find me in the bottom of the fucking mountain. That's what I'm saying. When I jump off the building. All right, that's what I'm gonna say.
So with
Wow,
that,
dark.
we will leave you with a somber bear down. Bear down. Bear down.
Bear down.